Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about the crazy time frame difference. We usually do this show at 8:30 at night, but because we have some family stuff, I wanted to get it done. And I was like, oh my goodness, I could just go at 2:00 and then kind of hopefully everybody that's on the normal 8:30 time frame will have a nice recording to watch and, those kind of things. Because this is one of my favorite weeks. Is each week on 1% Tribe, we always go through three things. Getting a bunch of trouble streaming. Okay. Well, we'll leave that as it goes. Hopefully it'll pop up there. But so as it's going, a lot of times we'll go through three different things. Thoughts, toxins, trauma, right? So these are the different aspects. And last week we did a little shoulder action, which was fantastic. And now, and then we do an herbal, and that's another one. And so with that, after that portion, sorry guys, Facebook's giving me all kinds of grief. Yeah, they're giving me all kinds of trouble. That's okay. We'll figure it out as we go. Just we're having trouble on issues at the Facebook side. Okay. It has ended. We keep trying to let you know if it's resolved. Please. Okay. Yeah, we're good. So Facebook's having trouble streaming, but that's okay. I got a couple people on. They can watch it later too. In that note, most of the time, the best place to find it, because Facebook sometimes has trouble anyway, because if you're watching a live stream, if you move, your thumb up and down your phone, then all of a sudden you lost the live stream anyway. So a lot of times I will recommend people go to Rumble. We have a YouTube channel, and my favorite is podcasting. So the podcasts are always available on iTunes, Spotify, all the big ones. And it's called The Prize Inside, The Chiropractor's Journey. So if you ever want to just listen, those are fantastic as well. A lot less technicalities that can happen. But Rumble's really nice too, because it's all, once you subscribe to the channel, then you can go through each one that you'd like to watch again, or, if you missed it or whatever. But just remember, because it's a new time, usually this one's at about 8:30 at night. So we just go through 1% of living into night is going to be fantastic. We focus on thoughts and epigenetics. So epigenetics in the sense of how you can change your life through what you think. Okay. And one of my favorite authors of all time his name was Dr. Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer is, a lot of you probably have heard of him before. And so what I wanted to do today is it's always fun on these aspects. Wayne Dyer came prior to epigenetics being like the thing. Where, if you remember, epigenetics is the science of literally changing your genes. How do you uncode, rewrite or reprogram, turn on the programs that you would like to turn on, instead of like we used to think, thinking that you're stuck with the genes you have. Okay. There's a lot to that aspect, but before we get going, I want to make sure you guys have all the different areas. So here's our Rumble channel. We'll do that real quick. Oh, sorry. I know you throw me one techie glitch. See, that's where my mindset needs to get better. Throw me one technology glitch and you'd think I'd lost it. YouTube, is the other place you can subscribe to, which is really cool. Hopefully, I do both of them just to make sure, like, if we ever talk about something that could potentially be censored, because sometimes holistic medicine and or health, they don't, get censored quite a bit, which is kind of hilarious that would be. And then here is a podcast episode that you could watch. So podcast, this one just directly to Apple iTunes, but you can find the podcast anywhere. So those are some cool areas. And X, like if you're not into X or Twitter, that's another place I like to do some streaming. For me, I'm so pumped. I'm like over 63 people on the Rumble, and we're getting quite a few views on things. So that's my hope, is over time we'll be able to, keep growing this. I want to do it organically. I've always done that, grew my practice organically, all those kind of things. I feel strongly that you can, if you have the right content. And so as we go, I'm hoping you'll see it better and better as we go as well. So tell your friends, it's totally worth it. Oh yeah, one more other place. We have this email list. This email list is very basic. It's just for the podcasting, so you don't get hit too much with anything. Oh, I'm sorry. I redid that. Hang on. Let me do that one more time. Man, I am struggle busting on the tech today. I'll have to tell you guys, I got excited. Our little middle school robotics kickoff was today. That's why I'm adorning we're the beavers, so it's called Iron Dams. So we got our game yesterday. It's kind of a long day because your brain has to work on this creative idea. I love watching these children like go at and start problem solving, which is amazing. So if you ever get to see it, it's very intimidating for a lot of kids because they just are used to getting stared at or lectured to. And now all of a sudden they're like, it's your robot, man. You better get involved. Those are the kids that really take off. So remember, any of those channels are the great place to go. But I'm hoping if I have anybody on that thumbs up or like, if you've ever read one of Wayne Dyer's books, because a long time ago, when I was starting to get into understanding, your mind, how important your thoughts are every single day. Wayne Dyer's books were one of the reasons that happened. He was way ahead of himself. He was on TV constantly, doing different aspects of it. But one part that was so interesting is, like, after reading him the entire time, it was like God, the universe. I always think of the God in the universe as constantly challenging us to move forward, giving us more challenges, giving us more like life to live. And if you can see it, then, you're better off for it. One of the things that was really cool about Wayne Dyer was that he thought that way ahead of time. He had passed, basically. I think he probably lived a few, but he never, the connection between his writings and epigenetics really didn't take off until basically after his passing. And so what he talks about is inspirational. He was a self-help guru on TV all the time. He was a major author of many, many books. The biggest thing is like just some of the words were so profound in the spiritual sense. The spiritual soul, understanding we are more than just a physical body, is what I want to talk about tonight. So today, what we're going to do is go through a couple of his quotes, and then hopefully you'll enjoy it, and then enjoy the rest of your night. So here we is. So let's go into Wayne Dyer's different quotes. So these are not from one specific book, but I think I put in there each book that it came from, but they're all his quotes. So remember that, and we're just going to discuss each one. Oh, man. This is going to be great. All right. So this is actually the picture on your screen right now is when Rachel and I went to Hocking Hills, Ohio. And it was pretty profound, actually, the amount of hiking that we had. And there was some gorgeousness out there. So if you're on the podcast, I just have a nice picture. I don't take pictures well, but this one just stuck out to me. It was like one of those that were just fantastic. So it's going to be a good thing, as you go and explore these places, especially right now at Michigan area where I'm at. This is like the perfect time to get out and about. That's why I expect a lower audience at 2:00 in the afternoon on a beautiful Sunday. So with that said, that's some of those awesome pictures you can get. And then it just sparks the memory already. We just had such a good time doing this. So all right. So let's talk. So what we're going over tonight, or this afternoon, basically, today is a little motivation from one of my favorite authors, Dr. Wayne Dyer, using different life perspectives to literally change the trajectory of your own health and healing. See, this is not about woo-woo, you're going to have a better day mentally. And I want you to physically change. The cells of your body physically change when you change your mindset. This is an absolute truth. Okay. And we have to understand that going into this situation that we are in. We are in a place where we get inundated with a ton of negative press on purpose, because if you understood what the people that advertise, a lot of times they understand fear drives dollars to move. Okay. So fear drives dollars to move. It's a part of marketing that they know. It's scientifically, but when you're happy, when you're not that way, maybe dollars don't move as fast. Okay. So with that said, when you have a good mindset, then the cells of your body move in that direction. When you have a fear-based mindset, or, nervous, or whatever, the anxiety kind of thing, low self-confidence, all of those things lead to cells having the exact same thoughts. Okay. So remember that as we go. Hopefully this will inspire you a little as we move into the next world. Okay. So here we go. Born on May 10th, 1940 in Detroit, Michigan, Dyer rose from humble beginnings, including times in an orphanage, to earn a doctorate degree in educational counseling from Wayne State University, right down the road from us. His breakthrough came with his 1976, the year I was born, isn't that cool? Your Erroneous Zones, which sold millions and introduced his philosophy of self-empowerment, urging readers to shed guilt, fear, and approval-seeking behaviors. Over his career, he wrote over 40 books, blending psychology, spirituality, and practical wisdom with later works like The Power of Intention, which was one of my favorite books, Wishes Fulfilled, emphasizing manifestation and spiritual connection. Known for his warm, relatable style, Dyer inspired millions through the PBS specials, lectures, and media appearances, leaving a legacy of encouraging people to live authentically and embrace their inner potential until his passing in 2015. All right. So there is kind of a rundown of who Wayne Dyer was. When I was growing up, you'd see him on TV all the time. PBS broadcasting specials would be constantly on there. A lot of good self-empowering, self-motivating situation. His take was really, really cool because you went into just not self-empowering, but he wasn't afraid to step on the spiritual aspect of things. And I think that is what really took my attention, because there's so much to that spirituality that we have to understand as we go. Okay. So now let's talk about the quotes. So these are some of the quotes, and we'll just kind of walk through and talk about them a little bit. Okay. You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. So the breakdown of this is a widely quoted line underscores Dyer's message to cultivating self-worth and inner contentment, a foundational idea in this book for break free from dependency on others' approval. The reason I started with this quote is because I think, honestly, this might be one of the hardest quotes that we're dealing with as a society today. There are medications, there are procedures, there are several different things out there in our sick care model that feed on the idea that we do not like ourselves. We have talked ourselves into so many negativity pieces of who we are that it's really becomes an issue. We take medicines to make us skinnier. We do injections to make our face look different. I don't like this about myself. I don't like that about myself. These are all things that really make you have an issue later with the amount of power that your body actually has with loving each and every part of you. And that is the truth. You can still love yourself and want better, you know what I mean? But to disempower the cells of your body because you decided that, I'm to this or I'm to that, right? And then you literally take something, a chemical that maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, maybe it'll give you a side effect, maybe it won't. These are things. And what happens is like with the people, if you become self-empowered, the cells of your body become self-empowered too. One day, I hope I'm going to try to reach out to her. She's a little wild. I don't know if I can get her to talk in normal speak, but this lady that I know that I listen to often talks a lot about the biofield. The biofield around us, there's this biofield where you have energy, right? Some people call it chakras. I would say in a Christian form, you would say, there's this weird thing. I believe this is totally me. I believe they didn't want the Christianity to know that this biofield was present. And so they split them and tried to go, okay, that's all new age. I don't want my people in Christianity learning that, the power of prayer is actually a thing and all those energies. And every time you go to church, there's a reason you feel better all the time is because all those energies connect while you're in all these different groups and you like all the people and you get excited about that group and those energies connect, right? We don't want to know all that because, that'd be a little too powerful, right? So we have this biofield around us. And the thoughts of our brain, our subconscious programming, our thoughts in general are part of that biofield. When you can take a drone and literally put a headband on and I can fly the drone with just my brain waves, your thoughts mean something to the universe. It means something to what we like to call the intelligence within. So we have our innate intelligence within. Those thoughts are part of that, right? And then we have this universal intelligence outside that some people call universe, right? Some people call God. All these things, this is this intelligence that keeps this world kind of going in that way. And your brain waves are no different. They are part of that system. Okay. And when they are, the neatest part is understanding that and seeing what just your mindset will do and just believing that you are the greatest gift on this earth. I always love the statement that you've already won the lotto because it was 1 in 100 million chance that you as an individual, when your mom and dad got together, it would be you. And that's pretty awesome. But we forget that we won the lotto when we were that young. I was smiling this week because it's, I guess United States wise is like $1 billion or something like that. So the $1 billion lotto, and I just smile. I'm like, in all of it, we all get into the game. We're like, oh man, what would you do with that? And you're going, in all honesty, in a sense, we've already won that. Being here, understanding the journey that we're on is pretty awesome. So remember this quote. This is a very good one. It sounds so simple, but you cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. Changes the game. Changes the game. I'm telling you, it'll be good. All right. So here's another quote that I liked. You leave old habits behind by starting out with the thought, I release the need for this in my life. Okay. So we've talked about this in epigenetic control, epigenetics in general, is when you are able to find that mantra, within, your life, because we have all these life struggles, the ins and outs, work, life balance, work, life situations, stressors, all those things. But when you can actually breathe through a lot of those things, you can see where the universe or God is giving you a challenge that, if you take the right mindset to it, could be the best thing that's ever happened to you, right? So this is what's so cool about this statement. You leave these old habits. Let's say the old habit was, hating what you do for a living. And you start out a new thought, I don't need to hate the work I'm doing in my life, right? Or these old habits of some kind of you smoke, or those kind of things. You don't need them. Keep telling yourself, I don't need these old crappy habits in my life. And that could be a huge game changer helper, right? And that can be awesome that way. Okay. So with that, let's go on to the next quote. I thought that was pretty good. Here's another Wayne Dyer quote. This one's from The Power of Intention in 2004. One of my favorite books. Whew, this is super powerful. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Okay. So think about that. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. What is that saying? This is epigenetics 101 prior to it kind of manifesting and taking off beyond that. Change the way you look at things, and those things begin to they actually start changing in all aspects, not only the thing you're looking at, right? So we've talked about visualization in a few videos past, right? If you ever want to go into those, where you can literally manifest what your day looks like. But imagine if you change the way you look at a certain situation, you get injured, right? Instead of, looking at the injury as it is, imagining that injury and where you're going to be. I tell a kid, I'll give you a great one on this. I have a feel. When I was in high school playing sports, I never really got hurt. I was a lot of time bigger than the kids and all those kind of things. I didn't really have any major injuries until I would say my senior year. So my senior year, I had this thing. I had switched from basketball, which I loved, to wrestling, which I found out I loved more. And so this wrestling was such an awesome challenge for me that I was addicted. I was terrible. So I did it. I was wrestling my 11th and 12th grade years, and I was not good. I was strong, but I was not a good wrestler. 2 years of wrestling is not exactly enough to even think about that you're just going to naturally go in there and do something. But what was cool about the sport was it was constant self-improvement. What you were relying on. Constant self-improvement. No matter where you were, you're constantly trying to self-improve to get the results you wanted on the mat. Not a lot of sports can do it as well. A lot of the different one-on-one type stuff, in wrestling, I liked it because, yeah, you can get injured, but you're not going to mush your brain like some of these, like the bigger ones like boxing or, those kind of things. One of the neatest parts, though, was, and I got injured, and in my senior year, once that occurred, my brain went into a new place. I didn't know where that is. Darkness, some deep, deep, dark places where you don't want to necessarily go as a kid, right? It's just like, this sucks kind of situation. And as I was improving on that, like as I look back, it was put in my lap. The universe, God put that on me so that I could, because here's the kicker. It was a dark place for a long time. I ended up having to have a surgery, my one surgery ever, that was in college football time, where I got it done. Now, the good side of that, once I got the surgery done, God put in my lap a physical therapist that was so intense on what she required you to do that she really pushed me to this new level. I could not believe how I recovered from this major surgery that I couldn't even, barely, patellar dislocation, but mine actually wrapped around the back of my knee. And so because of how far it had dislocated out, they thought it was time for surgery. Well, in that surgery at that time, I don't know if they would do the same thing, but they had to cut some muscle out to think that that was going to actually track it better. Little did I know, maybe that if I did enough rehab without the surgery, I probably could have got out of it. Now that I understand afterwards, what the therapies I did were, it made my legs so powerful and I had such good control that it was amazing. So I bring this huge story back to this. The reason God put that in my lap is because he knew God knew I was going to be taking care of athletes, and understanding how dark and your brain goes nuts when you have athletic injury and you never had it, and that those sports were part of your identity. That's what I'm, as their chiropractor, I get to talk to them about that. And so me and so many athletes, I just smile every time when they get it. Somebody gets injured. It's not just the injury. They're going to get over the injury. How do I get them mentally prepared to go into it so ready for if this happens to them that they can just bust right through it? And so a lot of times we'll have that conversation. I go, what's cool is when you're this young of age, have something like this happen, and now you're fully prepared for if it ever happens again. You know what to do. If I can empower these kids to see an injury as a stepping stone towards something much, much bigger, you get a new part of your life that you actually get to empower and control, right? Because I was talking to one guy, what if you made $10 million a year and never got hurt before? All of a sudden you get hurt, and that's your that's your moneymaker. Think of the stress of that. A little high school kid, he ain't making his money on wrestling. But later, if you're a pro, that could be some pretty dark times, right? But if you empower yourself, understanding that, let's say they got hurt way early in their life, understand this is what I do right away, you can literally empower yourself. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I don't know. But remember, it's how you look at things. Is the injury the end of the world? Not necessarily. You can recover. You can see the body's process. I think that's the coolest part. Any injury to me ends up being, look at how amazing your shoulder's doing. Look, like some people, I had this one guy several months ago, very big, high athletic, loves working out, his job is very physical as well. His arm went numb because he had a disc situation where his disc kind of swelled in his neck, but he did no chiropractic at the time. His friend I've taken care of for a long time that he works out with said, hey, try Jeremy for a minute. So this is early June, let's say. So early June, he comes in. He'd been messing around in, like in the sick care model, not getting where he wanted to go. And then we kind of walked through all the different things, made him rest a little bit, made him do some chiropractic, those kind of things. Well, about 4 or 5 visits in, there's no pain there at all. Part of it is his ability to understand, like it scared him because he never had injury before. And so then he understood what he had to do if things happened like that. So he got really, really good at feeling and identifying what's going on with his body. The funniest part of this whole story is it happens every day, right? In our office, it does. But one of the craziest parts is he was like, "Hey, doc, I got I think the end of October, I got an MRI for this neck. Should I do it?" I was like, "Is it for the shoulder thing we fixed already?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well, if that was me, I like testing, so I wouldn't say no, but if you don't want to do it, you're absolutely okay to not be able to do that thing." So that was kind of a cool story, where we could get ahead of the sick care model. Because a lot of times if you just drag it on, but now he has this empowerment of understanding what to do if something happens in his shoulder area, upper neck area, right? That's the game, right, guys? It's not wait until something breaks and kind of, that sucks, right? Okay. All right. So that was a pretty good one. All right. Here's a good quote as well. If you believe it will work out, you'll see opportunities. If you believe it won't, you will see obstacles. This I see all the time. This one is also from my favorite book, The Power of Intention. It highlights the role of belief in shaping your outcomes, a recurring theme in Dyer's teaching and manifestation of positivity. So this is pretty much our society as a whole. Everybody sees obstacles. We never look at the actual opportunity. But so many successful people in the world see the opportunity when something doesn't go right. Okay. Good example. Studying the biggest bazillionaires out there that own real estate. Do they make money if it's at the peak real estate time where all the housing market's way high and the building commercial market's way high? No, that's not where the money's made. It's when everything's struggling, when everything goes down in value and they are able to grab something undervalued to go up to the higher value, right? Well, sometimes we can do that easier, in, let's say investment life or, most of your stocks, the guys that are really, really good at it buy at a nickel, right? One of Rachel's favorite stories is, if everybody remembers, remember when Martha Stewart went to jail for whatever insider trading, even though all the I digress, but all the Congress could probably just go there now. Poor Martha Stewart had to go to jail, but all these guys get like bonuses or something. So it's just wild to watch. They're literally caught, like these kids, college kids, are watching them insider trade, and yet none of them go to jail. But poor Martha Stewart somehow gets hammered. It's just wild. But anyway, you'd think she knows somebody. I don't know. But anyway, so Rachel and I were talking about it. Her Martha Stewart stock had dropped from like $25 down to $1 when she went into jail. And I'll never forget it. Rachel said to me, "We should buy some of that." And I was like, "Oh, honey, she's in jail. It'll never recover." The moment she got out of jail, she instantly somehow got that thing. Within 6 months, it was $10 a share. It was back up and further than it was when she went into jail. So there was big opportunity there, but a big obstacle came in Martha Stewart's way. How did she respond? She created as an opportunity, not an obstacle, right? She could have just went doom and gloom and got out of the way. She should write a whole book on that. Because that was an empire. Martha Stewart, man, still is kind of, right? So Okay. So there's that one. Oh, I like this one too, because I think this gets in a lot of people's way. Um, because we, for some reason, and maybe it's the last few years or something, I feel that this is happening more. And I'll be honest, I don't live in this world, so this quote is interesting. So how people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. Okay. So what I mean by that is people have a hard time interacting with people, right? I see it all the time in my office. It's almost troubling, really. It's like somebody starts a new job and it's like a weekend. They're like, I can't stand this person. I can't stand that person. I can't imagine living in that life, to be honest with you. But so I digress on that. But we have got to do a better job in like stop reacting to what others say or do or whatever, respond, because it does us no good. It doesn't do our karmic soul any good to be like, well, I don't like that person or I don't like this person. What's the best thing is like just move on. Like move on. Find the good in that other person. People say, oh, there's no good in any other person. That's horse crap. But like as you go, you must look at that. You must see that piece, right? There's always somebody, I'm sure. But for the most part, this is a very troubling part of society right now. The lack of toleration for others when we really should be. And it's partly because we're very, unfortunately, I thought, by this time through COVID, we had learned our lesson and like really started loving on each other a lot more and giving each other more forgiveness. I think I want to say I see it once in a while, but sometimes I see the opposite harder, where we don't give each other credit for, just little things. Everybody's going to say something, right? That doesn't the greatest. My humor is not the greatest. And I'll say something, but to let your reaction is on you, right? If you have a person that's bad to you or whatever, that's their karma, man. They have to deal with that negative energy throughout their whole system. Remember, if you're a negative Nelly person, the cells of their body are negative too, right? So if you understand that negativity is going to lead to something, so be as nice as you can the other way. So that's what I love about that quote. It's big in epigenetics because all of a sudden, you have, if you're like, oh, this person doesn't treat me right. Well, you just took on that negative energetic karma instead of being like, okay, maybe they're having a bad day. Move on, right? That's the craziest part, like in chiropractic, I work with a bunch of people that are hurting. And it's not very fun when you come into the office and you're a hurting unit. And that's, you have to figure out a way to make sure that they, understand we're going to get through this, right? So, and getting them out of that negative energy is a really big part of what you can do. All right. Ooh, I like this one as well. With everything that has happened to you, you can either feel sorry for yourself or treat what has happened as a gift, like we just talked about. Everything is either an opportunity to grow or an obstacle to keep fighting, keep you from growing. You get to choose. Imagine this guy was before epigenetics. Okay. There's only two spots in your world. Epigenetics tells you your body can only be in two formations: growth, you're constantly in growth, or what they say, protection. Protection is your body's cells are trying to protect from something happening to you. Sick, there's a tiger, those kind of situations. The cells have to choose. That's it. So you have growth, where you're eating and expanding and all of these things in each and every one of your cells, or you're protecting. You're protecting and you're down here making sure nothing happens to what you have. Okay. When you get this situation where, we'll read it again, with everything that has happened to you, You can either feel sorry for yourself, which is pulling you into this protection mode, or treat what has happened as a gift. You treat what that happens, and then you actually allow yourself to expand, because that's what God wants, right? That's what the universe wants. It wants this expansion. That's what we're going for all the time, is this constant expansion, right? Everything is either an opportunity to grow, expand, right? Or an obstacle to keep you from growing, keeping you in protection. Which one do you think you want to do? But you always get to choose that. All right. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I'm sorry the stream on Facebook looks like it never came back. But my Rumble peeps, my Twitter, and my YouTube peeps are still going strong. I like it. Okay. I love this one. This is one of our last ones for the day. This one's so fun. When you dance, your purpose is not to get to a certain place on the floor. It's to enjoy each step along the way. I wanted this quote in there because I want our health and vitality to be a dance. I'm tired of it being, I want it to be this journey. I'm going to eat right so I can live till 120. I'm going to eat right so that I have my pants fit different. I'm going to eat right. How about just eating right because it's the joy of understanding, and the reward is my pants feel different. That's different. You're enjoying this thing about taking your health to the next level. I think that's the hardest part, is because the chemicals in our life have done such a good job of screwing with our brains to think that the foods that are like super cravey, that aren't good for us, right? The fake sugars and the junk chemicals that they put that create the food addict type situation, or the pops or the alcohol, all those different things. They put those things in, you addict yourself to these things. Your mind thinks that that's the happy point. When in all honesty, eating good and getting to that point where all of a sudden food actually energizes you, you enjoy the good stuff. You're like, man, nature actually made this. Rachel made the steak last night from one of our farm raised cattle. Whew, that was spot on. And it's just, once you understand the value of that, the quality of that meat, the quality of whatever you're eating, the fruits and veggies that you grow out of the vegetable garden. We're so excited right now. Rachel did her first 2 kraut ones. She did a red cabbage kraut, which I'm really excited to see. She wanted to try her hand at some kraut as well, because we have a nice from that fermentation school that I tell you about. They gave a good recipe called, it's lemon and dill. And you add that lemon and dill, and you can eat it like a side salad all the time. Doesn't taste like sauerkraut at all, but it has all that good probiotics in it and stuff. But, like when you get into eating food that you've made, eating food that you've grown, eating all of those things, like, isn't it amazing how good a baked good is? From when, who baked it and how much work they've put in to do that. I think it's so phenomenal. I'm glad my 2 daughters, Lexi made us something, or Allie's made us stuff for years. Like, she has done baking for a long, long time, and it just tastes different. You can feel the energy. You can feel the goodness in those. Homemade stuff is way different. Well, Lexi made herself one night a ramen bowl. So it's like ramen noodles, the little cheap little ramen noodles. She uses this broth, like an egg, some kimchi, which we made some natural. So now, but it's a lot of work. Like, she found out she was making, like, I think there was 3 or 4 of us, Rachel, me. I was like, you want to do a ramen bowl night? And she had to do all the cooking for all of them. But oh my God, the thing was phenomenal. It was like really, really good. So, but part of the reason it was really good is because of the love that went into that, right? It's not just making food. It's the whole process. It's the energy of all that. So there is a big difference whether we can, put it on a piece of paper or not. That is the truth. That's how that rolls. Okay. So, okay. So remember that one. When you dance, your purpose is not to get a certain place in a certain place. You're just trying to enjoy each step along the way. All right. So here's another good one. The more you see yourself as what you'd like to become and not at, yeah, let me move this real quick. Don't want to take away the, okay. Okay. Let's read that again. The more you see yourself as what you'd like to become and act as if you want what you want is already there, the more you'll activate those dormant forces, epigenetics, that will collaborate to transform your dream into a reality. That's how it is supposed to work. So let's read that again. The more you see yourself as what you'd like to become and act as if you want what you want is already there, the more you'll activate those dormant forces that will collaborate to transform your dream into reality. Okay. So on this one, we want to, in our head, understand specifically that the universe is much more vast. God is much more vast of a situation energetically than we could ever imagine. In fact, the things that we already kind of think about is already manifesting and lining up. We just have to get there, and we have to get there the right way. We have to energetically get ourselves to those different points, and that's the work. That's the work. That's what's that saying. And by visualizing who we are, by understanding that, you take, what Wayne Dyer said, and physically change your body with the epigenetics. Remember, epigenetics is all about running different programs, running programs within your body that you want to run, right? We're always taught that you can't run a bunch of these different things, but yet, like once we get to this thing that we're genetically hooked and no one could ever do it, that's not true. We can get wherever we want to, right? We just have to make sure that what we want, we just start with the easy stuff. Start with easy manifestations. Start with easy, hey, I'm going to feel better today. I'm going to, see a butterfly today. Don't start with, I'm going to, win the $1 billion or whatever from that lotto, right? We don't start there. That's too challenging. It's too difficult to get through all the different things that are getting in your way. So that's the key to that one. All right. So let's go into, I think this is it. So that was our show for today. So what are we going to do for our 1% tribe? Change how you approach your day with those that surround you. Change how you approach your day with those that surround you. This is more critical than you could ever imagine. And I hope you take to heart what I'm saying on that. We have choices that we choose, and we will create our future selves in many ways simply by learning to choose better, emotionally and physically. How about this? Start liking yourself more. That'd be great. And enjoy those weird things you got. Enjoy if you're a little chubby. Enjoy. Do it. It's okay, right? You don't have to stay there. Quit worrying about what other people think. Their energy has so little to do with you compared to the energy that you create for yourself. Okay. And that doesn't mean to say, you know what? My body's perfect. I don't care. If it's not perfect, don't say it is. Just be real with it. It's not perfect yet, but I'm going to make a change, right? It's not perfect yet. Yeah, I'm going to make a change. It's pretty easy, in that sense. But we put so much pressure on ourselves to do all these things that are outside. We look at everybody else constantly. So, I'm not going to compare myself to Joe Rogan yet, even though I could compare. I think I could hang. I'm just joking. But for that, guys, thank you. And I appreciate, I'm sorry it was a different time frame today. I'll put up the recording as soon as we're done, so that, like, if you guys want to, like, listen back at our normal 8:30 time frame, don't forget, we do a Whole Health Weekly on Wednesday night at 8:30. Yeah. So with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight's stream, and we will see you this Wednesday or next Sunday. So have a great one.